Let's talk about mobile vulnerability management, the problem, why you should care, and how Lookout can help with a data-driven solution. With tablets and smartphones now being used in nearly every business process, there's too much inherent risk in hoping that employees will keep their operating systems and mobile apps up to date. This was less of a risk when these devices were really only being used to read email, but now they have the same access to data as every laptop and desktop. So, what seems to be the problem? This illustration shows the Android device fragmentation from an open-source application called OpenSignal. Each box represents a different device, organized by brand. The size of the box indicates the market share of the devices, and as you can see, no single Android device has a dominant market share. Some manufacturers have a significant market share only because of the dozens of devices they offer. But the challenge organizations face is that each device receives security and operating system updates at different times because the Android ecosystem is very fragmented. When there's a security vulnerability on the Android platform, for example, the version of the OS for each device needs to be updated, and each carrier may issue an update for their Android version for the same device at different times. These variances make it difficult to understand your fleet's vulnerabilities and which patches are available but not yet installed by your users. Unless your organization standardizes on just a few devices from a single carrier, this situation is truly unmanageable. Today, it is only possible to ensure that mobile devices run a minimum version of the operating system by using mobile device management. But without the data telling you which device is ready to be updated to what operating system version, you can't understand how implementing the patches affects your organization. Take a look at the Android OS version distribution over time, and you'll see that the fragmentation is getting worse because many older devices are still in use. When a new OS comes out, it takes on average 13 to 14 months for it to become the most popular OS, but the most popular still only means 30 to 40% market share. If you implement a policy that every device needs to run a minimum OS version in order to access corporate data, you might cut off a huge part of your fleet. Some organizations have decided that this is an unsolvable problem, so they let people use the devices that they have and hope that they're updating them regularly. And as employees increasingly use these unmanaged personal smartphones and tablets for work, organizations are losing what little grasp they have over mobile device management. Traditional vulnerability management can't fill this gap since it relies on devices attaching to the office network rather than home Wi-Fi or cellular networks. The other aspect of vulnerability management is related to mobile apps. We are in an age where a vulnerable app can lead to complete device exploitation. Historically, out-of-date or vulnerable apps on a device risked only the sensitive data associated with that app. For example, if I had a vulnerable version of Dropbox, someone could steal the contents of my Dropbox. But now, a vulnerable version of WhatsApp could compromise my whole device, even if a newer version of WhatsApp that patched the exploit is out there. This new level of app vulnerability happens because these apps are heavily integrated into the device's operating system and can lead to a complete device compromise. Here's an example. In early 2020, it was reported that Jeff Bezos' cell phone was hacked by a malicious WhatsApp video allegedly sent from Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's account. The technology that was used, allegedly, wouldn't require Mr. Bezos to open the message to cause a compromise of his device. The result was data exfiltration that caused a nearly 30,000% spike in data transfer rate from Bezos' phone. Reportedly, more than 6 gigabytes of data were exfiltrated from that device. Because the video was sent in a WhatsApp message, the phone automatically downloaded and started to collect information about it, which involves the device parsing that video, for example, to create a thumbnail. These are situations where the presence of a vulnerable application on your device increases the attack surface of the overall device, not just of the data that is associated with that application. Many organizations might conclude that WhatsApp is not a corporate sanctioned application. However, mobile devices are now the new frontier of shadow IT. WhatsApp is something that many people have downloaded for personal use all over the world. Just having this app on their device, even if it's only for personal use, can lead to the whole device being compromised. Users can accidentally put corporate information at risk, even though they are not downloading anything outright malicious. This happens because old, outdated, vulnerable applications lead to an increase in the attack surface and an ability for someone to take that device over. The biggest hurdle for organizations to figure this out is the lack of data. At Lookout, we overcome this by crowdsourcing data from our nearly 200 million mobile sensors and analysis of over 120 million mobile apps, with up to 10,000 mobile apps being added to our corpus every day. This extensive dataset creates a picture of the mobile ecosystem across Android, iOS, Android security updates, and app updates to give a complete overall picture. We can determine whether or not there are OS or security patch updates available for specific devices. If an app has a vulnerability, we can determine which version someone should update to, as well as the OS needed for that update. These are answers that many organizations wish they had so they can make good mobile device policy decisions. For example, if there's an update available, they could require some devices to update or require all the devices or apps to be on one of the two latest versions. Alternatively, they could also require people to update within 45 days of an update being available on the App Store. Those are policies organizations want to be able to write, but simply can't because they just don't have the right data to enforce them. What makes the Lookout solution unique is that our dataset is based on the most reliable source of data available, actual real-world evidence that an OS update, security patch, or app update is available for this device. We also deploy across managed and unmanaged devices, making it easier for an organization to understand vulnerabilities across its entire mobile fleet. Lookout makes managing and patching vulnerabilities across your entire fleet of mobile devices not just possible, but also data-driven, so you can minimize vulnerability risks and maximize protection of your organization's data.